This video will explain 4 things. How to set certain resources to idle and to charge, how to use the wait for next transport property, how to set assist to product loading and unloading, and how to reserve certain resources to a process. First, we will explain how to set a transporter to idle and to charge. Open the idle charge location confirmation program.vcmx. Idle and charge settings need to have both a specific component placed and its properties be set. To enable idle location as a waiting location when a resource is idle, and charging location as a location for the resource to charge, the interface of each location and the idle charging location's interface of the transport controller need to be connected. The idle setting is defined under Time to Idle in the Default tab of the resource. When the resource is idling for the number of seconds set in Time to Idle, the resource will move to the idle location connected to the transport controller. When Time to Idle is set to 0, the idle setting becomes disabled. When a task is allocated to a resource when the resource is moving to the idle location, the resource will move instead to execute that task. Charge settings are defined under the Power tab of the resource. When enabled is not selected, charge settings are disabled, and the resource will continue to operate during the simulation. Capacity sets the maximum capacity of the resource's battery. Initial capacity sets the initial battery level for the resource. Busy consumption _H sets how much battery is consumed per hour when the resource is operating. Idle consumption _H sets how much battery is consumed per hour when the resource is idle. Recharge rate _H sets how much battery is charged per hour. To charge limit sets at what remaining battery amount causes the resource to return to the charging location. The number set here is a percentage of the total battery set in capacity. Charge until limit sets the maximum limit of battery that can be charged. The number also set here is a percentage of the total battery set in capacity. Current capacity shows the currently remaining amount of battery. This cannot be changed from the Power tab. Play the simulation. When the resource's current capacity becomes less than the to-charge limit for the capacity, the resource will move towards the charge location connected to the transport controller and will start charging. The capacity of the charging location connected here is 1. If multiple resources are connected, and the current capacity of all of these resources becomes less than the capacity for the to-charge limit at the same time, this will lead to some resources not being able to use the charging location. When this happens, the resources that cannot use the charging location will instead stop by it and start charging. When the resource's current capacity becomes less than the to-charge limit for capacity during operations such as transporting, it will move to the charging location after the operation has finished. After moving to the charging location, the resource charges until the current capacity reaches the charge until limit for the capacity. After the battery has charged until the battery level is charge until limit for capacity, the resource will move if it is allocated a task. When a task has not been allocated, the resource will be charged until its current capacity reaches the maximum limit. When a task has not been allocated even when the resource is at maximum charge, it will move to the closest idle location, and will wait to be allocated with a new task in idle. For the idle location, go to its Component Properties window and select the Charger checkbox so that it can be used as a charging location by resources. The charging location can also be used as an idle location for waiting by going to its Component Properties window and selecting the Allow Idling checkbox. This concludes the explanation on how to set a resource to idle and to charge. Next, this section will explain about the wait for next transport property of the transport link. Open the wait for next transport confirmation program.vcmx. Go to the Process tab, Editor, and click Flow. Right-click the process labels of Feeder 1, Feeder 2, and Process Number 1 on the 3D world to open the process routine. With Flow Group Number 1 selected in the Process Flow Editor window, click the diamond icon in between Feeder 1 and Process Number 1 on the 3D world. By enabling the Transport link Wait for Next Transport in the Properties window, you can make the resource wait while holding the product until the wait transport statement of the transport destination process is executed. When the resource has arrived at the transport destination, if a wait transport statement has already been executed, the resource will quickly unload the product at the transport destination. When the wait transport statement has not been executed, the resource will wait at the operation position holding the product. Play the simulation. On the screen, the transporting of the VC can by the resource starts, and then immediately after that waits for the box to be transported. When the box is transported, the work statement will be executed. The resource will wait while holding the VC can until work has completed. When work has completed, the resource will now transport the can to the process. After that, the two products are attached as one, and then transported to the conveyor. This concludes the explanation about the wait for next transport property of the transport link. Next, this section will explain the assist for product loading and unloading operations. Open the Load Assist, Human, Confirmation Program.vcmx. Go to the Process tab, Editor, click Flow, and then click the diamond icon between the feeder and sink on the 3D world. When loading products from the transport source for the resource to transport, or when unloading products from a resource at the transport destination, other resources can be allocated to unload and load products. By changing the Load Assist and Unload Assist from the Transport Link Properties window, the component for loading and unloading can be defined. Here, we will set not the resource to operate, but instead the controller that is controlling the resource. Go to the 3D World toolbar and click Frame Types to display a frame. Play the simulation. Right-click the feeder process label and click Transport Out in the pop-up window. The resource set to Load Assist moves to the Transport Out statement resource positioning frame and loads the project onto the mobile robot. Right-click the Sync Process label and click Transport in the pop-up window. The resource set to Unload Assist moves to the Transport in Product position frame and unloads the product at the transport destination. Resources that are loading and unloading products will move to the operation position soon after another resource transporting products has moved. When a resource that will load and unload products gets to the operation position before the resource that is transporting the product, it will prepare by waiting with the product. By defining the frame with the name Assist Location to the component of the product transport source or transport destination, the operation position for a resource to load and unload products can be changed. Open the Load Assist, Human, _Assist Location Confirmation Program.vcmx. Go to the Process tab, Editor, and click Flow. Then on the 3D world, click the diamond icon between the feeder and sink. Go to the 3D World toolbar and click Frame Types to display a frame. Play the simulation. When an assist location frame is defined to a feeder process transport source, the resource allocated with the product loading task will move to the assist location. After that, it takes the product from the transport source at that position and loads it onto the mobile robot. When an assist location frame is defined to a sync process transport destination, the resource allocated with the product unloading task will first move to the product position frame defined in the transport destination transport in. After that, it will take the product from the mobile robot at that position. Then, it will move to the assist location and will unload the product at the transport destination. This concludes the explanation of assist location. When a resource that will load and unload products is attached to a resource that transports products, the resource that will transport the products will move to the operation position and will load or unload the product after it has prepared. Open the Load Assist UR5 Confirmation Program.vcmx. Go to the Process tab, Editor, click Flow, and then click the diamond icon between the feeder and sync on the 3D world. Specify the robot transport controller to load assist and unload assist. Play the simulation. The UR5 placed by the resource will load and unload a product after moving to the operation position. This concludes the explanation of the assist for product loading and unloading operations. Next, this section will explain how to reserve a resource to a process. Open the Reserve Confirmation Program.vcmx. Go to the Process tab, Editor, and click Processes to display the two manual processes. Play the simulation. When the resource temporarily cannot be allocated a task due to the delay statement, other process tasks can be allocated to the controller. When this happens, the order of statement execution may be affected because the other process statement tasks are executed while the same process statements are being executed. To make a resource execute only the specified process statement tasks, use the Transport Controller Reserve resource. Add a send signal statement from statements indicated by the 9 circles icon, and move the statement to the top. Click the Send Signal statement and set the Human Transport Controller to Component from the Statement Properties window. Select Signal to display the Human Transport Controller signal. Reserve resource is a signal that reserves a resource to the process component of a triggered value. Use the Send Signal statement to trigger the value. A reserved resource will only execute the process component's tasks with the triggered value until either the release resource is triggered and the resource is released from its reserved state, or the resource has been reserved for another process component with reserve resource. Resources connected to the same transport controller as the reserved resource cannot be allocated a triggered value process component task. Release resource is a signal that releases a reservation on a resource reserved to a triggered value process component. These two signals can be triggered by using the send signal statement. The value can be a process component name or an empty character string. When an empty character string is set, it will use the name of the process component that executed send signal statement as a value. Change the settings of the statement so that the resource is in a reserved state. Set the signal to reserve resource and an empty character string to value. Add a send signal statement by copying and pasting it and move it to the bottom row. From the bottom row Send Signal Statement Properties window, set Release Resource to Signal. Play the simulation. The resource executing the manual process task with the send signal statement will no longer be allocated any other tasks. This concludes the explanation on how to use the controller signal and connect other components. Thank you for watching.